Melania, Trump, Epstein. The timeline they can't shake. They say they met in 1998. Then come the photos. Then the Maxwell email. Then the denials. And now, in 2026, Melania is back at the White House trying to shut the whole thing down. Today's story is not just about one statement. It's about a timeline. A timeline that starts with Donald Trump meeting Melania in New York and keeps colliding with the Epstein orbit in ways that are politically explosive. Because on April 9th, 2026, Melania Trump stepped out in a rare White House appearance and said the accusations linking her to Jeffrey Epstein are lies. She said Epstein did not introduce her to Donald Trump. She said she was never his victim. She said she was never friends with Epstein or Ghislaine Maxwell. That is the defense. Now let's walk the timeline.
Specifically centered around the survivors.
Will this start with Donald Trump sitting his ass down and testifying, Melania?
Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony.
The official story starts in September 1998. Trump and Melania say they met at a New York party during Fashion Week. Melania repeated that again in today's statement, insisting she met Trump independently in New York, not through Epstein. About a week later, by Melania's own telling, she called him after he gave her his phone numbers, and the two began dating. Public appearances followed in 1999 when they were already showing up together as a couple in New York society coverage. So far, that's the clean version. But then the timeline gets messy. On February 12, 2000, there is a dated Getty image from Mar-a-Lago showing Donald Trump, Melania Naus, Jeffrey Epstein, and Ghislaine Maxwell together. That is not rumor. That is a documented overlap. Now, Melania says her first encounter with Epstein was in 2000, and she describes it as incidental. Reuters reporting on her remarks says she claimed she met Epstein only once in 2000. That's where the argument starts. Because if the official defense is no relationship, critics point to the photo and say, hold on, the circles were clearly overlapping. Then comes October 2002. Files released this year brought fresh attention to a friendly email exchange between someone identified as Melania and Ghislaine Maxwell. Melania now says that was just casual correspondence and means nothing deeper. The same wave of reporting around today's statement also points to a 2002 photo showing Melania alongside Trump, Epstein, and Maxwell at a New York event. So now the overlap is no longer just one photo. It's a photo trail and an email trail. Here's the most politically dangerous allegation in this whole saga. The claim that Epstein introduced Donald Trump and Melania. Melania flatly denied that today. Reuters, AP, and other outlets all reported the denial clearly. She said Epstein did not introduce her to Trump. That matters because the allegation has circulated through commentary tied to A. By April 2004, Trump and Melania were publicly identified as engaged. Then on January 22, 2005, they married at Bethesda by the Sea Episcopal Church in Palm Beach, with the reception at Mar-a-Lago. That's the official relationship arc. Met in 1998, engaged in 2004, married in 2005. But by then, the Epstein overlap was already part of the historical record. So why did Melania speak now, on April 9, 2026? Because the issue came roaring back after the release of Epstein-related files this year, including renewed attention to the 2002 email and old photos. AP and Reuters both report that her statement was aimed at shutting down what she called baseless lies. She even called for public congressional hearings for Epstein's victims. She also said she was never on Epstein's plane, never at his island, and not one of his victims. I found reporting of those denials, but I did not verify fresh evidence today disproving those specific denials. That means the fight is no longer just about what happened. It's about what can be proven, what can be denied, and what still looks terrible on camera. 1998, Trump and Melania say they meet in New York. 1999, public appearances as a couple. February 12, 2000, photo with Trump, Melania, Epstein, Maxwell at Mar-a-Lago. 2000, Melania says that was her only encounter with Epstein. October 2002, email contact with Maxwell surfaces in released files. 2002, another reported social photo overlap. April 2004, engagement. January 22, 2005, marriage. April 9, 2026, Melania publicly denies the Epstein allegations at the White House. And that is why this story is so damaging. Not because every allegation is proven, but because the documented overlap is real, the disputed claims are ugly, and the cleanup operation is now happening from the White House itself. If you want the next piece, I can break down Michael Wolff's claims versus what is actually verified in the files, line by line, with receipts. Subscribe at.
With the disgraceful Jeffrey Epstein need to end today. The individuals lying about me are devoid of ethical standards, humility, and respect. I do not object to their ignorance, but rather I reject their mean-spirited attempts to defame my reputation. I never been friends with Epstein. Donald and I were invited to the same parties as Epstein from time to time, since overlapping in social circles is common in New York City and Palm Beach. To be clear, I never had a relationship with Epstein or his accomplice, Maxwell. My email reply to Maxwell cannot be categorized as anything more than casual correspondence. My polite reply to her email doesn't amount to anything more than a trivial note. I am not Epstein's victim. Epstein did not introduce me to Donald Trump. I met my husband by chance at a New York City party in 1998. This initial encounter with my husband is documented in detail in my book, Melania. The first time I crossed paths with Epstein was in the year 2000 at an event Donald and I attended together. At the time, I had never met Epstein and had no knowledge of his criminal undertakings. Numerous fake images and statements about Epstein and me have been circulating on social media for years now. Be cautious about what you believe. These images and stories are completely false. I'm not a witness or a named witness in connection with any of Epstein's crimes. My name has never appeared in court documents, depositions, victim statements, or FBI interviews surrounding the Epstein matter. I have never had any knowledge of Epstein abuse of his victims. I was never involved in any capacity. I was not a participant, was never on Epstein's plane, and never visited his private island. I have never been legally accused or convinced of a crime in connection with Epstein's sex trafficking, abuse of minors, and other repulsive behavior. The false smears about me from mean-spirited and politically motivated individuals and entities looking to cause damage to my good name, to gain financially and climb politically, must stop. My attorneys and I have fought these unfounded and baseless lies with success and will continue to maintain my sound reputation without hesitation. To date, several individuals and companies have been legally obligated to publicly apologize and retract their lies about me, such as Daily Beast, James Carville, and HarperCollins, UK. Now is the time for Congress to act. Epstein was not alone. Several prominent male executives resigned from their powerful positions after this matter became widely politicized. Of course, This doesn't amount to guilt, but we still must work openly and transparently to uncover the truth. I call on Congress to provide the women who have been victimized by Epstein with a public hearing specifically centered around the survivors. Give these victims their opportunity to testify under oath in front of Congress with the power of sworn testimony. Each and every woman should have her day to tell her story in public if she wishes, and then her testimony should be permanently entered into the congressional record. Then, and only then, we will have the truth. Thank you. With the disgraceful Jeff